Well, thanks everyone for joining us this evening on this glorious day. I think summer's officially started, and we probably won't get too many of these days, but really grateful that you've all joined us for another one of our Thursday evening sessions hosted by Freddie and by the College of Medicine. The topic of today's discussion or seminar is how to create the perfect body. Which in itself is a bit of a misnomer because no one actually has the perfect body. Most people, when we talk about weight and weight issues, it's interesting because we're currently going through this kind of global epidemic of obesity and fast food and uncontrollable weight. And that's kind of very obvious to a lot of people, but what is more of a hidden issue amongst society is people who are underweight. And that stems from lots of unconscious psychological issues, as well as social media and peer pressure. Eating food often is a kind of a method for people to get away from the issues of life, the stresses, the strains. And the running theme with all of the seminars that we've been running this evening, these evening sessions, is there's a very deep unconscious issue that most people have. And by tackling and addressing these issues, we can often get to the problem, not necessarily needing to find the root problem of every cause, but digging down into the unconscious to try and help people. So today's seminar is on how to create the perfect body, and I'm going to hand over to Freddie now, who's going to take the floor. Thanks, Freddie.
Okay, thanks very much. Can everyone hear me all right? Amanda, can you hear me all right? Volume's all right? Okay, good. Well, good evening, everybody, and thanks again for joining us. As Naveed said, we're going to be talking about the reason we haven't called this a weight loss lecture or webinar, because as Naveed said, the problems are not just about losing weight. We have people who are underweight. But either way, food is, when I'm working with people for drugs or alcohol or cigarette smoking, it's a kind of binary thing. You could walk out of my office and never have another cigarette and live your life perfectly well. But with eating, we have to eat. It's not something we can't do. And so it's like saying to somebody who's a drug addict, you can only have these drugs on this day and only this amount. It would be ludicrous because that's not the problem for them is that it's either on or it's off. And with eating, the problem is that we live in a world, especially most of you who are here tonight, live in a world where food is ample supplies of food. And we could get a complete calorie count in one meal at a fast food place, a burger, a Coke and chips, and you've got your 2,000 calories for the day. So it's not, as Naveed was saying, most of us, and I'm assuming because you're here, that you've got a level of intelligence and intellect, otherwise we wouldn't be bothering to watch this. But everyone here would know what you need to do to lose weight if that is your goal. But doing it is a completely different thing. And that is because we've got this programming running. Most of us as children, and especially in our culture, and it's a problem for most people I see who come and see me to lose weight. I see people who are anorexic. We're not going to talk about that too much tonight, but I see people who are anorexic. But for people who want to lose weight, which is the majority of people, if the truth's known, in our culture, it's our culture to eat everything that's put in front of us. And it's very difficult for people to leave food on their plate because we're told as kids that there are children that are starving and you must finish the food on your plate. And that piece of programming, as a child, we believe that. And so even as an adult, we find it very difficult to leave food. The first thing I say to my clients who come and see me is I'm going to give them permission to leave food on their plate. Not that I have the right to give people permission, but allow them to give themselves permission to leave food on their plate. And the other thing about it is, the first thing I say to my clients is, I want you to forget about dieting. Because the one thing we know about dieting is what? It doesn't work long term. Anyone can calorie count for so many weeks. We can, one of those, is it a red day? Is it a green day? Sooner or later, you have to eat properly. So it's really what I want for everyone that's here, and everyone that's here that's working with people as well, is to enable you and your clients to find a way of living that will lead them to a healthy way. Let's forget the word perfect, because as Naveed said, perfect is like love or confidence. It's one of those words that means something different to everybody else. So let's think about the healthy body weight that we need to be, because it is one of those things. There was a guy who did a 25-year research project on longevity. And at the end of it, it came down to this: eat a tad less. For most people, it's about eating a little bit less. And it's, for me, I want all my clients, and I like you to think about this as well, is becoming a connoisseur. If you went to one of these top restaurants, Gordon Ramsay's restaurants, they serve you up a small amount of food. You wouldn't get a tablespoon and go in one spoon and just swallow it. You'd savor it because somebody special has cooked it for you and probably spent a lot of money. And I'm asking all of you to just start to become a connoisseur of your food. If you've cooked a meal or someone else has cooked a meal for you, then the least we can do is taste it. And most of us don't. We're eating, we're talking, and we finish that plate before we even know it. So there are a few things we can guide our clients towards doing. One, becoming a connoisseur. And by that, we mean tasting our food. And to do that, we need to chew our food a little bit more. I'm not a mindful expert, but be a bit more mindful about it. Think about what we're actually eating and take our time out to taste it. Because two things happen when you taste your food. By chewing your food a bit more, the saliva in your mouth starts to break that food down in your mouth before you swallow it. So your digestive system works better. And the other thing about it is it slows you down a tad. Now, I say it takes 10 minutes for your stomach to actually register that you've swallowed something. And most of the time, we are eating so quickly that by the time our stomach registers we've eaten enough, we've already eaten too much. So by becoming a connoisseur, and not just about food, I want my clients to become a connoisseur of life. If you're having a glass of wine, it's the same when people come to me, I've got an alcohol problem. I'll say the same thing, become a connoisseur. If you're spending £5 on a bottle of wine, spend £10, but drink it out of a crystal wine glass and savor every drop, rather than just drink it in a half-pint glass and the second glass you don't even taste. So when we're talking about weight loss, I want everybody to enjoy their food more, enjoy their life more, but become aware of what you're eating and understand that when you've understood, and that's what I do for my client. I'm going to do it for all of you today. We're going to have 10 minutes, 15 minutes where I'm going to take you into hypnosis and get you so that when your unconscious mind, your instinctive survival part of your being recognizes that you've swallowed enough food to stay healthy, energized and well and satisfied, at that moment, even before that food reaches your stomach, to be aware of it and be able to say, that was delicious, I've had enough, and leave some food on your plate. And the feeling of empowerment you're going to get by taking back that bit of control is going to be immense. Because our culture is to eat everything in front of us, the problem with that is when we go to a restaurant, doesn't matter if it's an Italian restaurant, French restaurant, Indian restaurant, Chinese restaurant, we are at the mercy of some young kid probably in the kitchen who's decided this is how much food you're going to eat. And because you've paid for it and they've served it up, we tend to finish it all. The feeling of empowerment is what I want for all my clients, to be able to say, that was delicious, but I've eaten enough, and put your knife and fork down and leave food on your plate. It's a tough thing for people to do because we're programmed to finish everything on our plate. So these are a few things I get my clients to do. The other thing to do is to ask the question, whenever you go to eat, why am I about to eat? Is it because I'm bored, emotional, or hungry? And when you ask that question, you'll be absolutely amazed how often you are not hungry. It's because someone's just upset you, or it's because you've got nothing else to do, or it's just because it's that time of the day. But by becoming aware of our bodies and listening to our bodies, we can change the way we feel and change the way we look. And there is only one question, as far as I'm concerned, with weight loss, and it's this: how badly do I want to look or feel that good? That is the only question, because there are some things we cannot change, but weight's not one of them. I always say, if there are some things we cannot change, otherwise I'd be taller, I'd have a lot more hair. But weight loss is not one of those things. It's about saying, this I want, and then making a commitment. There's so many factors, as Naveed was saying, so many factors when it comes to eating. I live in Yorkshire, and I moved to Yorkshire from Kent. And in Yorkshire, people feed you. You know, my mother-in-law will say to me, would you like a cup of tea? I'll say, yeah, thanks. Out comes a cup of tea and 3 biscuits, or a plate of biscuits, or a bit of cake. It's just the way it is in Yorkshire. And because it's there, you tend to eat it. And so there's lots of factors involved. And as Naveed said, a lot of it is about emotional eating. We eat when we're unhappy. We eat when we're sad. We eat when we're happy. You know, there's so many reasons why we eat, other than the fact that it's just because I'm hungry. But by listening to your body, you can change the way you look and feel. And the other thing about this is that it is the thing that is going to help you live a healthier, longer life. I know it sounds very cruel, but I say, you don't see any obese people in these old people's homes. You just don't see it. If you go to one of these old people's homes, you do not see many obese people there. And the reason is they don't make it to the old people's homes. It's the one thing that's going to shorten your life, maybe 10 or 20 years. So it is something that's really important to us. It's not just about the way we look. And it is about being able to live comfortably. One of the things about weight loss is this, and it's my son Anthony pointed it out. Our bodies, or our brain, seems to be geared to keeping you at the weight that you are. It tends to do that. I see people who are 5 stone overweight. They've been 5 stone overweight for 5 or 10 or 15 years, but 5 stone overweight. And I say to them, do you know exactly how many calories you need to take in every day to maintain your weight at 5 stone overweight? And none of them have any idea how many calories they need to take in, but somehow they manage to take in exactly the right amount of calories. And they're not doing that consciously, but somehow your body is geared to make that happen. And you can have a really good day. I know some of you here may have tried to lose weight, or you may be trying to lose weight now, but we can have a really good day, and you can be busy, and you could have eaten sensibly all day. You get home and you may be you're having a rest, or just watching a bit of TV. 8 o'clock, you go into kind of zombie mode. Beep, fridge, 400 calories, biscuit, piece of cake, and they're topping up your calories for today. So one of the things to do is be aware of when you're eating after 8 o'clock at night. What's around 840 calories? Is that what you're saying, Andy? What, to maintain your weight?
No, to maintain an additional 5 stone would be about 840 calories, Freddie.
Over the top?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, the reason I'm asking Andy, because Andy is a world-class...
not world-class, but I'm a ex-bodybuilder.
He's an ex-bodybuilder, so he's very, very in tune with about stripping fat off his body and putting muscle on his body. And you know, if Andy went to when he was powerlifting, if he'd been to the doctors, because on the scales, you'd have been classed as morbidly obese. Is that right, Andy?
Yeah, yeah.
There wasn't an ounce of fat on you, I doubt.
At about 6% body fat, I was close on 18 stone.
Yeah, I mean, that's immense. So, yeah, so Andy's saying if you wanted to keep that on, you'd have to maintain 840 calories over the top of your normal calories every day.
Yeah.
And if you're, so on the other hand, if you're taking in 840 calories more than you should be taking in, then you are over a period of time going to put on that 5 stone. We are an organism, and we're a pretty simple organism. And it works like this, if I'm right. If you, to lose weight, there are 2 ways of doing it. You take in less calories or you burn up more calories. And I would suggest for all of you that are thinking about how to do this, I would find a middle road, a way of exercising. Like, if you know, we're not all 20 years old, and going for a run or going to the gym might not be possible, but a walk, just enough to keep your body working, keep your heart working, is enough. And there are 2 kinds of body fat. And again, I'm not a medical person, but, and again, you can prove me wrong or say otherwise, because and I'm hoping for you to do that. But aerobic exercise, if you want to lose visceral fat, that's the fat within your body, around your organs, then you need to do aerobic exercise. And that is walking, dancing, running, riding a bike, swimming, all those kind of things. If you want to lose the subcutaneous fat, that's the fat under your skin, between your skin and your muscles. If you want to do that, then you need to do resistance work. And it doesn't have to be going to the gym and lifting loads of weights. It can be just something easy that's going to work that part of your body, whether it's your stomach muscles, your back muscles, your arms, your legs. And again, please, I know some of you here are real experts on this, but if I'm wrong on that, please tell me. But that's how I see this. So finding a middle road on that, to be able to find a way where you can just walk every day. If you're walking your dog, then at least once a week, walk your dog at a pace, because our bodies adjust to the exercise we're doing. If some of you were doing, you look at some of these nurses and doctors, and the amount of steps they do every day, it's immense. And if somebody who wasn't doing that suddenly started doing that, I'd lose a lot of weight. But for the person that's doing that, because they're doing it all the time, their body adjusts, so it no longer affects them in that way. And so it's a simple equation, but it's not a simple thing to do, because there's much more to eating than just sustenance and nutrition. There's social eating, there's eating for pleasure, there's all these other things. But if you're going to do this, and if you've got clients that decide, or they need to do it, you can do this in a very simple way. And it's purely about finding some way of moving, maybe 15, 20 minutes a day. And you can do that by increasing, if parking your car 10 minutes away from your office. It doesn't have to be specifically going to the gym. You don't have to go running to do this. And I'm going to say it's all to you now. If you want, I wrote this book called The Jacqueline Rope Workout, and where you can just get toned on a single piece of rope, and it's not skipping. If any of you are interested in it, I'll send it to you. Just email me or email Amanda, and I'll send you the PDF. And it's quite simple. It's just about using your own body weight, maybe 5 or 10 minutes a day, and you can tone up. But like all things, it's about being consistent. When people go to the gym once a week, it never works. It takes, when you work out, if you work out, whatever you're burning calories up at after a 15 to 30 minute aerobic exercise, your body will continue to burn at that rate for the next 48 hours. And that's why it never works when you go to the gym once a week. But if you can find a time on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, whenever suits you, to do 15 minutes or 20 minutes of an aerobic exercise. And that's not, I mean, you can do, I mean, I know Amanda's started kickboxing a while back, and I have to say, I saw a photograph of her today with her nephew. She looks great. I mean, it must, whatever she's doing, it's working for her. But you can just say, I'm just going to do this. But you have to be dedicated to it, like you would pencil it into your day, because most of us are busy. But if you say, I'm going to spend 30 minutes on these 3 days doing an aerobic exercise, doing some toning, and pencil it in. So when you're there, nobody can contact you. It's not like, okay, well, the phone's going, I've got to answer it. You've got to do it as if you're having a really important meeting at work when no one can contact you. I was listening to an author on TV yesterday. She's written X amount of books. She's very famous. And she was saying she used to be in marketing and she used to fly a lot. And she had a dream of writing a book. And she decided to spend 15 minutes every day writing. That was it, 15 minutes a day. And what she also said, which made absolute sense to me, we can pretty much, all of us can pretty much achieve anything if we say, I'm going to have 15 minutes a day doing it. You could learn a language. She said, if you want to run a marathon, start with 15 minutes a day. Don't start running a marathon straight off. Do 15 minutes a day. If you want to write a book, take 15 minutes a day out. And if you want to lose weight, then take that 15 minutes out. But you have to get your mind right. One of the things is find a big enough reason. I don't follow Tony Robbins, you know, the guru guy much, but one of his quotes stuck with me. It's this: if you can find a big enough why to, you can always find a how to. But what is your why? That's the question for your client. Why do you want to do this? And to be honest with you, keeping away from killing yourself has never been enough, people, as strange as it may seem. There has to be another reason. And the other thing is that people have to appreciate their worth and their value. My bottom line in every therapy session in my room is I want my client to understand their worth and their value. And by that, I mean the value that goes beyond their car, their house, the clothes they wear, the car they drive. Because if we can't get our clients to understand their value, why would they look after themselves? Why would they forego the cake or the biscuit? Why would they do anything if they don't value themselves? So that is one of my main things. How do we find that? And sometimes it's very simple, just by asking simple questions about who are the most important people in their life. That's a question I ask every one of my clients. Don't matter what they come in for. Who are the most important people in your life? Who do you love most? Because most people will know. If they have a grandchild or a daughter of 12 or 13, I ask this question. I say, if your granddaughter came to you and she was said, I'm 3 stone overweight, it's making me miserable, I'm unhappy, you would take her for a walk. You would feed her the right food. You would do everything you can to make that child happy and well. So most people already know exactly what they should do. Is finding that reason, why would I do that for myself? Who cares enough? And it's something they have to find within them. It's not going to come from outside. Because most people, if they're loved, it doesn't matter to their partner if they're a bit overweight. It doesn't matter to their kids. But when it comes down to this has to, like with every client that I see, it doesn't matter if their partner wants them to quit smoking or stop doing the drug or lose weight. It doesn't matter if their kids want them to do it. They have to come to that conclusion. As the great Mike Mandel, the hypnotherapist in Toronto, says, they have to be at threshold. They have to be at that point when they say, I'm ready, I want to do this. Otherwise, there is no point, no matter how good you are at what you do. Whether you're a hypnotherapist, psychotherapist, doctor, psychiatrist, it won't make any difference unless that person is at that point of threshold where they say, I want to do it. And then they can change anything. So these are the things. One, I give my clients permission to eat anything they want. I say you can go into Tesco, Sainsbury's, and you can say I can eat anything I want in here. But I'm going to eat these foods because I want to be 9 stone, I want to be 10 stone, whatever it might be. I think the worst thing for us as human beings is to be told that we're not allowed to do something. Because if you're told you're not allowed to do something, that tends to be all you're thinking about. It's the worst thing someone can say to me is, Freddie, don't do that. I think, I wish I hadn't said that. I wasn't even thinking about it before. Now I've got to do it because it's my nature to do the opposite of what people tell me. And so the first thing I do is say, look, you're an adult, can eat what you want, but you also know where you want to be. And these are your reasons for doing it. And you can make that decision today and then do it and stick with it. Set an absolute target and then commit to it. If they're not willing to do that, and I know most of the people that come and see us, they want that silver bullet. They want that one thing that's going to make it easy. But if their mind's not right, and I'm sure some of the doctors here will know this, you could give someone a gastric band operation so they can't swallow X amount of food, and they will find a way around it. Their mind will find a way around it. They'll blend it. They'll melt down their chocolate. They'll do whatever they have to do, because if your mind is not right, nothing you're going to do with your body is going to change. But what hypnosis does, and I've said it to you before, what I believe it does, it gives the hypnotist, the hypnotherapist, the doctor, the psychiatrist access to the underlying programming that says, eat this now, continue to eat. And there are different kinds of problems. Some are what we call grazers, people who just pick all day long. There are people that snack and they have, and they feel they need sweet food. And there are others who don't have an off button. So it doesn't matter what food's put in them, in front of them, they're going to eat it all and never really feel full. But we do as hypnotherapists have different ways of dealing with it. And there is the virtual gastric band, and it does work. If someone's in hypnosis and you suggest and in their mind run them through that actual operation, their body will act accordingly, as if that operation has taken place. And they'll find themselves unable to eat more than a small portion of food. But I'm not going to do that for people who snack or graze, because that's not the problem. And so finding out what their actual problem is, their reason for eating, and it might be that there's some kind of trauma in the past. But I, as a hypnotherapist, I never assume that. A lot of schools of therapy say if someone's obese, it must be because they've been either sexually abused or abused in some way in their childhood. They just start at that point. And if that's the point they start at, and especially with things like hypnosis, you can easily create a false memory of something that never ever happened. So I'm assuming nothing. If someone says to me, yeah, this actually happened, and I put on this weight as a defense mechanism so that I didn't look attractive and blah, 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 then we might revisit that. But I'm not going to start as if that has to have happened. Sometimes, as I say to people, it's just because they like cake. It can be as simple as that. It doesn't have to be anything deeper than that. And we have tools. We have what I call my Jack Quinn time machine, which is in a way of looking at something, is reviewing and reassessing a past event, not regressing back to that event, not experiencing that event again, but looking at it from where you are now and making a new decision. That we can do very, very simply. I'm going to explain to you how that works. So if any of you want to run this, you don't have to be a hypnotherapist to do it. But you have to make sure that your client's ready and prepared to look at it again. With the clear understanding, they're going to look at it from where they are now. Having survived whatever it was, they're only going to look at it, review it, reassess it, take any learnings from it, and then let go of the emotion that's attached. And this can be done in 5 minutes, not 5 years or 5 months. And I'm going to show you all how we can do that this evening. We can run a gastric band, a virtual gastric band for those people who do not have a stop button. But more than anything else, this is about being very direct with your suggestions. From today, the need to overeat, comfort eat, boredom eat will be gone. You can say it very directly to somebody, and they will pick that up, and it will happen. Get them to go out into the future and experience what it's going to be like at their ideal weight, their healthy weight. And you can get them in hypnosis to actually feel into that experience. And I do this, and it's not my idea. I wish it was, but it's not. It's Milton Erickson's idea. If Milton Erickson didn't have the answer to the problem, he and I do the same. I assume that the only person in my therapy room that knows exactly what's needed, has the answer to the problem and the strength and the understanding to overcome it, is the person in the therapy chair, not in my chair. So he would start from the same point, assuming that they already had the answer to the problem. He would say this. He would hypnotize them. He would say, go out into the future to a point where you've achieved that goal or you've overcome that problem. Go out into the future, step into that body and feel what it feels like. Now look back to now and notice all the things you did along the way that led to achieving that goal. And when you've done that, drift back to the here and now and open your eyes. And he would sit there and he'd wait for that person to do it. And when they open their eyes, you'd ask them this question: what was it that you did that led to that goal? And they would say, well, I stopped eating chocolate and I started doing some exercise and I cut out the potatoes and the bread or whatever it might be. He would then re-hypnotize them and say, from today, the need for chocolate will be gone. You'll find the need for bread and potatoes has gone and the weight's going to drop off you. He would just feed back to the client what they told them they had done. If you understand, it's like a chicken and egg thing. Because assuming your client already knows what they need to do, all they need to do is get into a state of mind to make that happen, to want it badly enough to forego whatever it is they're doing that's taken them away from their goals. And it's not complex. It's really not complex, but it is finding a point where they understand their worth and their value. So they want to do it. So they understand that they're worth doing it for. And it's not easy, is it? I mean, I'm continually on a quest to achieve certain things. But I know, because I'm 69 tomorrow, it gets more complex, gets more difficult, apparently. I'm not giving into that thought, but I'm finding it is the case. I still believe that I can pretty much have the same body I had when I was 28 in boxing, providing I do what I did when I was 28 in boxing. But how badly do I want that now? I don't have a competition coming up where I know that if I don't get myself to where I want to be, I'm going to get battered. So that was a good enough incentive to get super fit. But I don't have that now. But I believe if I lived, pretty much do the same as I did when I was 28, I can get my body to where it was when I was 28. It might take a little bit longer, but I still can do it. I don't believe there are any limits. Most of us have those excuses. You know, it's my age.
Sorry.
I want to say something.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you there, Freddie, but your body changes on a pretty much day-to-day, year basis. I know when I was competing, I could never do the same thing 2 years in a row and get the same result.
But do you think that, I understand what you're saying, but do you think part of that is just a belief?
No, I think it's just the fact that your body changes, your chemical structure changes, you produce less testosterone the older you get. And that's physically proven. So you can still get to the same point that you want to be. You just have to use a different road.
Right. I understand that it's been that thing from the age of 19, your testosterone levels drop year by year. Well, that means like for the past 50 years, I can't have any left. But I don't believe that. And I still can put on some muscle if I do it. And I don't do it.
No, it drops, but it doesn't stop.
Right.
And so like if you've got, say, the equivalent.
It's harder than it would be if you were 20. I know what you're saying. Yeah. But we can still be as good as we can be for our age. I can't possibly be what I was when I was 29, but I can be as good as I can be for 69. And it's the same for all of us. and we just say, how bad do we want this? And whether it's just for the way we look, that's good enough reason. But along with that, it's more about how healthy can I be? Because we know it is the one thing that's going to shorten our life. And for people who are seriously underweight, and I know we spoke about it briefly when Naveed said about it earlier, but the truth is that is, it is a mental illness. There's no two ways about it. But having said that, none of the stuff that's going on around us exists outside of our skull, except as perception. It doesn't. We look in the mirror and some people will say, I'm just overweight. For someone else, that would be the perfect weight. So none of this exists outside of our skull. All of you are looking, there's 50 people looking at me on this screen, and each of you could describe me to each other. But if Gaynor had Amanda's perception of what I look like, it would be so vastly different to Amanda's, it would be psychedelic. Yet we think we're looking at the same thing. We think we're experiencing the same thing. But what I look like doesn't exist outside of your skull except as perception. And it's just that. And when we understand that and we say we're going to take control of it, and we taught you before TPM, total perception management, how to have complete control of your emotions, where you can, with a click of your fingers, go to neutral emotion. What if every time you got up to eat, you remind yourself and just go into neutral? Because if you go to neutral emotion, that would negate any emotional eating, because that would be gone. So just when you're walking for the fridge, go to neutral, and you'll pretty soon find out whether you are hungry or whether you are it's just emotional. There are things that we can teach our clients, obviously. One of the things is this: the body can hardly tell the difference between hunger and thirst. And the majority of us, and I know I'm guilty of it, we don't drink enough water. But the body can hardly tell the difference between hunger and thirst. So a lot of the time when we think, oh, I need something to eat, it's water that your body needs. So just by explaining this to your client and saying, if you're thinking about eating, have a glass of water first. If you're still hungry afterwards, then eat something. But 50, 60% of the time, that glass of water will satisfy that need, because it's actually water your body needs. So there are simple things we can teach our clients, but more than anything else, it's about commitment. And it's about a big enough, why do I want to do this? Because the majority of you here could tell someone how to get their body to the right weight. And yet the majority of you here, I doubt where you actually want to be. I doubt many of you are sitting there thinking, at this point in time, my body is in a perfect, healthy state it needs to be in. And the question then is, why? Why is that the case? Here's a question that a friend of mine asked. She did a presentation for me, and she asked this question. I'm going to ask you all to ask this question, and it might be a question you can ask your clients to ask as well. There are two questions she asks, and I think they're the most important questions in the world when it comes to keeping ourselves well and healthy. And this is the question: what has to happen for you to love yourself enough to treat yourself to the healthy body you want? What has to happen for you to what happens to happen for you to love yourself enough to look after yourself properly? And the second question, which is just as important: if you are not in your perfect healthy state at the moment, if not, why not? And pretty much everyone knows the answer. When I ask my clients, what do you think you're doing wrong? They will tell me. They know what they're doing. They don't feel they have any control over it. But we do. It's about saying today's the day. It's about making a commitment and not being swayed off that commitment, no matter what. Doesn't matter then if your mother-in-law brings you out a plate of biscuits, you can say no thanks, just eat. It doesn't matter then if you, the feeling of empowerment When you first do this and you go to a restaurant and you savor that food and recognize when you've eaten enough, put your knife and fork down and say, I've eaten enough, that was great. The feeling of empowerment from leaving some food on your plate is going to be immense, because most of us have never done it. To be open a bag of crisps and have 2 or 3 crisps out without draining the last crumb out, it's immense. To be able to say, I can have a biscuit, I don't need to have 3. I can have a piece of chocolate, I don't need to finish the bar. No, these things which we just take for granted, but when you take back that bit of control, it's immense. And when I'm working with my clients, I want them to feel that. The feeling of empowerment when you put your knife and fork down is going to be immense. I fully expect that to be a post-hypnotic suggestion they're going to feel. So we've got 20 minutes. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to run you through what I call the time machine. This is something I developed, not the time machine, but this, I think I'm going to talk to you right now about something I developed over the last few months. And I call it the blink and delete technique. It's a very simple technique. Most of the decisions we've made in our life, big decisions, are being made in an emotional state. And yet when we're emotional, we're not functioning optimally. Yet most of the big decisions about who we are, what we can, what we cannot do, was made in an emotional state. But it was just a decision made in a less informed, less evolved state. So when we come up against a block, I can't lose weight, I can't stop eating cake, I can't blah, blah, blah. The question we have to ask ourselves is this: when did I make that decision? How old was I? Where was I? Who was I with? And was it even my decision? And I promise you, when you ask that question, you'll immediately go to when you made that decision. And here's the most scary part about it. 60, 70% of the decisions or the beliefs we have about ourselves, about what we can, what we cannot do, and even our religious beliefs were created by a child under 7 years old. And that is a very scary thought. You would not have a 5-year-old boy or a 6-year-old girl making a lifelong decision about what you're capable of or what you're not capable of. But most of the beliefs you have were made by a child under 7. And so when we ask the question, when did I make that decision? How old was I? Where was I? Who was I with? And was it even my decision? You will immediately go there. I promise you, you'll remember in an instant. Then you ask this next question: is that decision any longer viable now that I've evolved? Because you are not the same person you were a week ago. As Andy said, you are definitely not the same person you were 20 years ago. You have evolved, but we're running on old software, decisions that we made in a less involved state. So you ask the question, then you ask that second question: is it any longer viable? Or is it an obsolete decision that I made in a less informed state? And if it is, you blink twice and you delete it. Then you go to neutral and make a new decision from where you are right now. And doing this, you can change your lives. I promise you, you're just functioning on old decisions. And the fourth part of that, was it even my decision? When you ask that question, you'll probably find it wasn't. It was someone else's opinion about you. But if you're a child or you're a teenager and someone you admire says you're not academic, but you're a good sports kid, but you're not academic, or you're good at math, but you're terrible on the football pitch, you tend to believe that. So when we ask that question, you'll see it probably wasn't even your decision. And you just go from where you are now, blink twice, delete that decision, go to neutral, make a new decision. So what we're going to do here today, and I'm going to, for all of you who want to take part, you don't have to take part if you don't want to. But if there is something, if you're not achieving your physical goals, if there is a block somewhere, you know, I'd love to be able to do this, I'd love to lose this weight, but I'm eating emotionally, or I'm eating because I'm bored, or it's something other than hunger, What I'm going to do in a moment, I'm going to just run this time machine with you. I'm going to take you back to the moment, the very first moment that relates to that decision or that problem. You'll see it from where you are now. And then you're going to take any learnings from it. And then you're going to let go of any emotion that's attached. And then you're going to drift back to now. And it's going to be done in 5 minutes, right? So it's not going to take us weeks or months. You don't have to take part if you don't want to. But if there is something, if there's a reason you are not losing the weight you want to lose, or a reason you're not putting on the weight you want to put on, if that's the case, we're going to have a look at it quickly today. But you are going to go back as you are now. So you're not going to regress back to a child. You're not going to experience whatever it was again. You're just going to review it, reassess it, take the strengths from it and let it go. And when that happens, your way you eat and the way you think about food will change. So I'm going to just get you all on screen so I can see what's what, if that's okay. So you don't have to take part. You can just listen if you want, all right? It's nice now I can see some familiar faces here now. I can see all, gangs all here. Good. All right, so look, what I want you to do is this. If you're ready to take part in this, get yourself comfortable. Before we do this, I want you to just let go of any limitations and think about what would be, in this moment in time, depending where you are in your life, what would be a healthy, comfortable, enjoyable body for you. I'm not going to say weight because it'll be different for all of you, but what would be a comfortable body? And I want you to do this. Just go out into the future. Do this eyes open, eyes closed, but go out into the future and see yourself having achieved it. And then step into that healthy body and feel what it feels like to have achieved that goal. And then ask this question: how much fun is that? How much fun can you make it? How important is it for you? And look back to now and notice the things you would have done that led to that feeling. And I want your unconscious mind to make that happen for you. And from today, you'll find yourself moving toward that goal in a fun and enjoyable way. You can open your eyes, come back. Right, now, for those who want to experience this, I want you to do this. Just run this time machine with you. You're going to go back to the very first moment that relates to that block that stopped you from achieving your healthy body and goal, right? So I want you to do this. Take a deep breath in. As you breathe out, allow your eyes to close. That's right, only as quickly as you're ready to make these changes at a molecular, cellular, neurological level that will allow you to create that healthy body that you want. Just for a moment, focus on those tiny muscles around your eyes and relax those eyes completely. Imagine that's happening as you're listening to my voice. Imagine your eyes are so relaxed they just won't work. Get a sense of that happening. Imagine that's happened now and there's nothing you can do about it, just for a while. And when you realize that your eyes are so relaxed they just won't work, you can test them, find it completely locked just for a while. Try it. Now nothing bothers you, nothing affects you, nothing disturbs you. Everything I say now is your reality. Every suggestion I give you, your mind and body will act upon. Just for a while, you'll see what I say you can see, you'll feel what I say you can feel, hear what I say you can hear, as you go into that wonderful space, just drifting through time and space. That chair you're in is a time machine. In a moment, I'm going to snap my fingers and that chair and you are going to go back through time, as if time doesn't exist, back to the very first moment that relates to the reason that you're not achieving your physical, healthy self. And you will remember where you were, remember you were with. But you're going to go back with all the understanding and strength you have now as an adult, all the understandings you have now. So I want you to be brave about this. You'll remember where you were, remember you were with. I'm going to snap my fingers and you'll go back through time as if time doesn't exist. Be brave, because this is the last time that block is ever going to affect you. Get ready. You're back there now. You can see your younger self. Drop down beside that younger you and put your arm around them. and walk them through that experience. Remember where you were, remember you were, walk them through it with the understanding you have now, the strength you have now. Tell that young you everything they need to know for them to be the best person they can be. Tell them how incredible they are. Tell them how loved they are. Tell them everything they need to know for them to appreciate and look after themselves. Take any learnings from that space in time, store them in that part of your mind. And when you're ready to free yourself to create the healthy body and life you want, I want you to give that younger you a hug. I want you to thank them for going through that for you. And I want you to say goodbye. Do it now. Give that younger you a hug. Thank them for going through the experience. Tell them you survived it. Give them a hug. Say goodbye. Now drift back to now, but only as quickly as you can reevaluate every subsequent event that led to this moment in time. And when you've done that completely, drop down into your body. Only then with your eyes open and you, with a lightness of being you may have never experienced before, and a totally new understanding of just how incredible you are. Because you are love, and you are loved, and you are loving. You are unique, and you are incredible. Take this time. Only then when you drift back to your body, drop into your body in that chair. Only then with your eyes open, and you with a feeling of freedom you haven't felt for years, and a new understanding of just how incredible you are. And from today, you will look after yourself. You will take care of yourself. You will be kind to yourself because you are worth it. That's right. Take your time, do it thoroughly. That's right. And when you open your eyes, you have a new understanding about your worth and your value. And from today, you're going to look after yourself. You'll take care of yourself because you are worth it. Okay, I think everyone's back. There's a couple of people still. Anna-Law's there. Oh, you're back. Good. All right. Okay, excellent. All right, look, I hope you enjoyed that experience. Accept whatever happens. You all know what you need to do. And I hope now you understand that you are worth doing it for. More than anything else, understand you are worth doing this for. Get this understanding as well. Your body is the most incredible creation in the known universe. There is nothing else like you. You are unique. There's been 100 billion people have walked the planet Earth from the beginning of mankind, 100 billion people, but there has never been anyone like you. There is never going to be anyone like you. You are unique and you are worth looking after. From today, start to take care of yourself. You know what to do. There's some wonderful foods that will allow you to be healthy. You know what you should be cutting out and what you shouldn't be doing. But here's what's going to happen from today. Whenever you go to eat, you're going to ask yourself the questions. In fact, it's going to be as if I'm right beside you, whispering in your ear. Why are you about to eat? Is it because you're bored, emotional, or hungry? If the answer comes back, I'm bored or I'm emotional, you'll do something else. Look, I hope you enjoyed today's session. If you've got any questions, please ask. And hope you've got some ideas of how you can help the people that come into your life that want to lose weight or increase their weight. With anorexia, it's a different thing, and we may speak about it at some point, but it's a much more complex thing to do. Not that it's more complex. The mechanics are the same, but the psychological part of that is much greater. So any questions, please put your hand up or put your mic on. If I can answer them or Dr. Naveed can answer them, we will do. Anybody? All right.
I have a question.
Yes, Luba.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
Hi, Freddie. Hi, everybody. I mean, it's like a question and not a question. So I'm actually more or less okay with my body, but there's a couple of, I'm talking kilos, I don't understand in stones, but still. So my problem is when in the evening, if I'm busy with something, reading, and my brain needs that kind of sugar. And I think, okay, I'll get a couple of those crisps, and then I'm reading or writing, whatever, and then the whole package is gone. So it's actually something what my brain needs as a sugar state, and I cannot control once I'm busy with something. Any suggestions for this kind of idea?
Well, yeah, I'd put them as far away from where you're doing your work as possible. You know, the problem is it's a bit like drinking wine. If you've got a bottle of wine and you're in the lounge with you, you're going to drink it all. If you have to get up and go to the kitchen to get it, you might not. I went to a friend's house once and he said, I must come and see you about losing weight. He put on about 3 stone. And we went into his lounge and he's sitting in his chair, his TV chair, and there's a shelf there. And on the shelf, there's a bowl of sweets. And all he had to do was this. I said, put the bowl of sweets in the kitchen. If he had to get up each time to have a sweet, he wouldn't do it. So if you feel that you need the sugar, take a couple of grapes, but don't take the whole thing through. Then because otherwise you're eating unconsciously. And it's the same with everything we do, whether it's eating, whether it's drinking alcohol. What I want you to do, as I said earlier, is become a connoisseur. The moment you are eating without thinking, or the moment you are drinking without thinking, that might as well be a glass of wine. It might be a glass of water, or a cup of tea. And it might be the same for our eating. By becoming a connoisseur and actually being a bit more mindful about why we're eating, it's just because it's there half the time. I hope that helps you, Luba. But you, more than most people I know, when you make your mind up to do something, you can do it. And you already have the answer to the question.
I mean, the problem probably because it's at home. All in all, it's not in a reachable place. I'm going upstairs to get those crisps. Yeah, it's not just next to me, but I think I just don't need to keep it in my house. But I buy them for friends, for guests.
Yeah. I'm asking for a friend. Yeah, I know that answer. Yeah.
And then the stress happens. I mean, it's not stress. I just like I'm studying something or writing, and I need it. But anyway, thank you very much. Yeah.
Well, just ask the question. You know, by asking the question, and I'm going to be in your head now, so you won't have a choice in it. All of you, unfortunately, you're going to be stuck in my voice. If you're eating, whenever you're eating, you'll hear me say those words. Why am I eating? It's because I'm bored, emotional, or hungry. And if the answer comes back, I'm bored or I'm emotional, you'll do something else. That's all we have to do to get to where we want to a healthy state. And be mindful about when we eat. Be a connoisseur, taste the food, chew it more. If you're going about your day and you think, I fancy something, have a glass of water first. These couple of simple things will help you. And move more. Whenever you get an opportunity, move more.
Yeah, food choice plays a big role in it as well, Freddie.
Sorry, say that again, Andy.
Food choice, like what you actually eat. So if you eat 2,000 calories a day from chicken and rice, or 2,000 calories by going to McDonald's, your body would look, even though it's 2,000 calories, your body would look completely different.
Well, I would suggest that for all of us, wherever we can, cut out any kind of processed food.
Yeah.
And because if we're preparing a meal for ourselves out of fresh food, we get like 2 burns. They say when you chop wood for the fire, you get 2 burns. You get warmed by chopping the wood, and you get the warmth from the wood on the fire. And it's pretty much like when we prepare our own food. While we're preparing our food, we're burning off a few calories. We're moving around, and then we prepare proper food. And I know we all say, well, I don't have time to do it. It's about wanting this badly enough. You will find the time, you will make the time, and understand you're worth cooking for. You're worth looking after. But wherever it comes in a packet, it's probably not that good for you. That's the thing. And try and find the time to prepare yourself some food and become a connoisseur, not just of food, but of life itself. Yeah. Try and savor every moment.
I spend around probably 3 to 4 hours a week just cooking. I'll do it in batches and just put it in the fridge or the freezer.
Well, if any of you get a chance to look at Andy's picture on his Facebook, you'll see that man knows what he's talking about. He knows more about the body than anyone I know, and he's superb. So, listen to what he says. He cooks 3 hours a week. He does his own cooking, because your body is all we've got. It's transport. We might come back many times, who knows? But I'm basing the fact on this is my only chance. I'm not going to risk the fact I might come back next time and have another go at it. So I'm going to live this one to its max. I'm going to enjoy every moment. But I understand that this is my transport, and without it, I can't move, I can't speak, and I can't talk to you. So I'm going to look after it. I think we're about time, and I know Naveed's a very busy man. Do you have anything to say, Naveed?
Just going to follow up on a couple of things that you said, Freddie. So on the back of Luva's point about how do I crave sugar, I feel that dip. To be honest, if you have in the habit of having that late night, that late evening junk food or sugar or piece of food or whatever it might be, often people fall into a habit of needing to do that. It's no different to coffee or tea or sugar or juice or fizzy drinks or whatever it might be. If the body's been doing it for long enough, it develops a habit, and then it feels like a withdrawal symptom. And like with any withdrawal, once you've eliminated it and you've gone through that withdrawal, it no longer becomes a problem. And most people who stop drinking coffee or stop drinking tea or stop having junk food or chocolate or crisps, they go through that withdrawal for a period of time. And once they've come out the other end, they're absolutely fine, and they don't feel that sugar dip like they used to before. So like Freddie said, take it far away, even eliminate it from the house, just it's not around. You go through that little bit of a period, and actually you'll come out the other end much, much stronger. And on Freddie's point about the exercise, absolutely, a little bit of exercise a day, and it doesn't have to be long periods of time at the gym, 10 to 15 minutes. When I'm counseling my patients, whether it be in a GP setting or in a hypnotherapy session, I'll always say the same thing. I'll say, you don't need to go to the gym. You don't need to do heavy weights. 10 minutes a day or 15 minutes a day is all you need. And then people often will come back and say something like, well, I'm too busy. I don't have time. I've got kids and I've got this and I've got that. And I'll say to them, well, look, you booked an appointment to see me and you stuck to your appointment, didn't you? You took 10 minutes out of your day to attend this appointment. In the same way, all of you took out an hour of your evening today. You knew the time that you had to be here and you had that scheduled in your diary. So why not do that for yourself? 3 times a week, like Freddie has mentioned, 10 minutes in those 3 days, book yourself an appointment with yourself. Put it in the diary, put it on your calendar and stick to the time. And if it is 10 or 15 minutes, whether it's a walk around the garden or around the park, or even if it's up and down the road a few times, if you book yourself an appointment with yourself, you're more likely to stick to it. And on that, and Freddie, do you have something that you wanted to add?
No, go on.
And I'm conscious of time, so we're just running over. So just a final little bit. Thank you very much again for all of you who've attended this evening. It's been a fantastic session, and thank you, Freddie, again for an amazing session. We're planning to hold our next one. Again, it's the first Thursday of next month. We actually don't have a topic yet scheduled. So if there are any burning topics that people have that they want us to cover, we're very happy to consider anything. So Amanda has posted her email address in the chat. So if anyone has any topic or anything they want us to cover, please feel free to send Amanda an email and we'll have a look. And very shortly, we'll pick a topic and we'll post it out to all of you. So we'll aim to hold our next session on the first Thursday of July.
Okay. And if anyone wants my little rote workout book, just email Amanda or myself. Mine's very easy. It's freddie.jacquin@gmail.com, and I'll send you the PDF. And you can create that wonderful, healthy body you want, right? Thanks, Naveed. Thanks, Amanda. Thanks, everyone, for showing up.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Keep up.
Bye.
You are worth doing this for. Take care.